Well, it was important to her when she had to delay this vote. We're concerned that maybe she might have a tough time getting reelected leader. That didn't happen. She still got 2/3 of the vote. But, 134 to 63, that's a lot for someone to challenge an established, well-known name. So Tim Ryan, the Ohio Democratic congressman, who just wanted young, fresh blood in there to acknowledge that Democrats have some problems on their hands, and going back to the old guard isn't the way to fix it. Anyway, he lost, but the issue here is still, are Democrats sort of ignoring what happened and has been happening? To the Washington Free Beacon's Elizabeth Harrington. What do you think of that, Elizabeth?
Well, I think it's very clear by sending Nancy Pelosi back into her leadership position that the Democrats have not received the message from November 8th, which is that they have a problem here. They aren't listening to the working class Americans that thoroughly rejected their message on November 8th. And look, while 63 votes is a lot, so that does say that there are some in the Democratic Party that get it, that they know that the Democrats need to change if they want to start winning elections again. But I don't really expect them to get very far because Nancy Pelosi is in power still. The last time she was challenged by Heath Shuler in 2010, she completely shut out the Blue Dog Democrats. They didn't have a voice anymore, and Shuler himself was out of Congress in 3 years.
And in Ryan's case, he got 20-some-odd more votes than that guy did, and I think that guy was relegated to a broom closet when all was said and done. I'm kidding, but to make the point that when I raised with Tim Ryan, when I spoke to him about this, but he was saying that there were bigger things that this was about. This is Tim Ryan.
Look, I realize it's David against Goliath. I understand that. But, damn it, we got to have this conversation as a party because the future of our party is at stake. We are not a national party right now.
Is that resonating? I always find, and you cover this so well, that I think Washington, both parties could sometimes be in a bubble, but particularly Democrats who go back to the same leadership. And even when the leadership has failed, if you just want to spice things up, go a younger generation, go a new line of thought, get more people into that leadership pool, none of that.
I know. I just don't see it happening either. I mean, Nancy Pelosi is 76 years old, Steny Hoyer 77, Jim Clyburn 76, but they're not giving away their power. They're still the top leaders in the House. And yes, there are real concerns, as they should be, from the likes of Tim Ryan and others in the Democratic Party, but they don't have the power. And if you look at what President Obama just said, he's not changing his position or finding any blame in himself. He's still blaming you guys. He's blaming Fox News. Fox News is in too many bars across the country, and that's why the Democrats have lost. They have just no self-awareness of their failed policy.
He doesn't go to the same ones I go to because it's a hard time finding Fox.
I don't know what bars he's going to.
Leaving that aside, I wonder where you see all of this going, Elizabeth, because now if they're not really changing the leadership much, and even in the core leadership of the House, Ryan has so far, not to my knowledge, been invited to join. So are they really open to change, or do they feel they have to? And invariably, you'll hear a lot of prominent Democrats say, yeah, well, Hillary won the popular vote, or yeah, we picked up 6 more seats in the House when many thought they'd get 20 more seats. So you kind of assure and reassure themselves they're doing okay.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to change very much. If you look, this is what their problem has been since 2010, since when they've lost their majorities and lost members and senators year after year. It's after they jammed Obamacare down the throats of the American people, a law that they did not want, which is still unpopular, that people still want overturned. Since that, the party has shifted so far to the left, and they've gotten rid of all these Blue Dog Democrats that I really don't see how there's a place for them in the party. And that's why when you look like a figure like Trump to come along, he was attractive to these disaffected Democrats. And their tendency is to double down, and I think that's what they're going to do. And, the next time they'll win an election is only if the American people get sick of one-party Republican rule in Washington.
Yeah, it happens, but you don't hold your breath. Generally, when you're smelling smoke, there's a fire somewhere. Elizabeth, thank you very much. Great having you.
You bet.